Hello, good morning and welcome to NewsDesk. We're live on DSTV channel 421, Go TV channel 125. Across all our social media handles, we're Joy News on TV. Coming up in the next 60 minutes, mortuary workers across the country withdraw their services as they demand better working conditions. The group joins a number of other groups who are either on strike or threatening to withdraw their services. Also in this bulletin, we'll give you updates on the arrest of Stop Galamsey Now protesters who have been arraigned. We'll hear from CDD Ghana as they condemn the arrest of the protesters. We have details of this, plus business news within the next 60 minutes. My name is Faustina Safo. Take a seat and be my guest. Thanks for choosing us for your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Now, we start with the Mortuary Workers Association of Ghana because the group has withdrawn their services nationwide. The group says this action comes after prolonged grievances, including inadequate personal protective equipment, unpaid salary arrears, and unfulfilled promises regarding bonuses and financial clearance for new staff. Well, that's a concern for a lot of people because if your relative should pass on today, you may not get the services you require. Also, activities on public universities across the country are gradually grinding to a halt after the Senior Staff Association of the Universities of Ghana and other associations on various campuses boycotted their services a fortnight ago. They're demanding that government pays their agreed new rate for vehicle maintenance, allowance, and their Tier 2 pension contributions. Well, let's run the conversation now on News 6 and bring in George Ansong. He is the national chairman of the Senior Staff Association of the University of Ghana, and he joins us via Zoom on News 6. Mr. Ansong, thank you for your time. Now, has government called you to the negotiation table yet? Mr. Song, you have to position rightly for me to hear you, and I'll come to you shortly for that. I also have with me Austin Game. He's a labor expert, and he joins the conversation now. Government has a lot on its hands. First, the mortuary workers, they have withdrawn their services effective today. We also have heard from the Senior Staff Association for various universities withdrawing their services, and this impact is already biting hard. This coming at a time where we have just 72 days to the general elections. As a labor expert, what would you propose government do?
Thank you. I think they have a Herculean task on their hands. If you see a rat coming out in the afternoon, it means there's trouble somewhere. So clearly, we have danger on our hands, and the employer will have to marshal all forces if they can forget about the traditional partisan politics and invite other people with experience to help resolving some of these problems, the better, because the National Labour Commission is overwhelmed, particularly because there is an existing agreement between the employer called government and the various unions, and they have signed voluntarily to honor these obligations, and now they are reneging on it, particularly the Tier 2, because many of the colleagues of the stock of the union may be proceeding on their retirement shortly. And for 10 months or so that you have not been able to transfer their due money to the fund managers for further investment and expecting return on the investment, obviously they will get upset and demonstrate the concern that they are demonstrating now. So that is a very Herculean task. You need to assure them that you will be able to pay shortly, or an arrangement to be made to pay even if there is a change of government. Those kind of things, that guaranteed assurance is not forthcoming. And like you rightly said, because we have some few days ahead of us for the elections that will be coming, they want that assurance. They want that guarantee. And Labour Commission cannot be the one giving it. It must be two ministries, or even if you like three. Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations, Ministry of Finance and Education, who are the people responsible, the officers responsible, must go and have these meetings as urgently as possible and ensure that they have a planned arrangement as to how they'll pay these monies, or an arrangement to be made to pay. And by the way, my sister, I think that what we should trigger right now, the transitional arrangement for Ghana should be triggered now. 3 months, less than 3 months into election, the transitional arrangement should be triggered so that people with independent mind, who are not politicians, who don't have anything to do with the ruling government, should be the one now, together with government, sitting in some of the cases. So that they cannot promise anything to bring about problem for the next government. Unfortunately, we are not very mindful about that kind of arrangement. So if you ask me what they can do, they should have independent bodies within the transitional arrangement. We have a law like that already, so that they can sit together and resolve such matters with the guarantee that even if it's a new government, the government will be aware that this has been done genuinely with a transitional arrangement. Unfortunately, we don't have. And labor relations matters are not for small people. It's about people's condition of service. It's about their lifetime, so they will not yield to anything that will be brought to bear on them to leave it and go. Take CITAG as an example. CITAG, I have even prevailed on them privately, compelled them to agree to go back to work because our students were suffocating. Some of them were going to write exam, and they agreed to go, only for government to be reneging on the first phase of the payment. And they have agreed that they'll be going back to strike again. And I'm so scared for them. That's where we are now.
Is what we all are, because for CITAG, for example, they went on strike the longest they have in a very long time, the longest they have in a very long time. And that's the concern for lots of people. Now, I'll come back to you, Austin Gami, but let me bring in George Ansong. He's national chairman of the Senior Staff Association of the Universities of Ghana, and he joins us via Zoom. I'm hoping I have better connection to him. Mr. Ansong, you have various concerns. One, payment for your Tier 2 pension, and also you want fuel and vehicle maintenance allowance paid immediately. Have you been called to the negotiation table with government since the strike started?
No, please. I've never heard anything from any government institution concerning our issues.
How about the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission?
For fair wages, with these particular concerns, they have finished their job. We have had an agreement with them signed, and their job is, after we have had the agreement, they will write to the Ministry of Finance for them to release the funds to pay. And they have done so. It is left with the Ministry of Finance to release the funds. And that is where we are now.
Let's look at the impact on campus so far, having withdrawn your services. How is it biting hard?
It's biting very, 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 very hard. As I said, I've been receiving reports. Yesterday, I saw that UG, that's University of Ghana, has postponed their reopening because of the strike. Apia Menka University yesterday, I think they were doing some PhD viva. They have postponed it. This morning, I've seen UDS also postponing their reopening. So it's biting.
Now, we've been
I
doing
know.
some checks. Yeah, make that point, and then I would ask a follow-up question.
So by close of this week, other universities will also follow suit because our members are complying with the strike.
Now, this is an issue of concern for most of the students in these universities because of the impact of the strike so far. Are you willing to reach a compromise should government call you to the negotiation table?
My sister, why should we go and sit down again? Let me bring in this vehicle maintenance and off-campus allowance. This allowance cuts across all the devices in the university, from senior members through to junior staff. We are all taking the same allowance, this particular allowance. Then, and also all of us have signed the agreement, the same agreement. Then government to write a letter authorizing payment to only UTAC, leaving the rest. So why should we go and sit down again? For what? Are we all not working in the university? Now, UTAG is not on strike. So why are they postponing the reopening? They are the teachers. They are the ones who teach. Why wouldn't they open the schools? Why wouldn't they go and do the Viva? Why have they postponed it? It means that we are also relevant. But if government, the same government sit down and says, I am paying UTAG, but the rest go and find your own means of transport or whatever. Do you think it is fair? So if government is calling us to do what? To negotiate. Whilst we have finished negotiation and signed the agreement, and you have gone ahead to pay one session. So if you call us to come and sit, what are you coming to sit for? So if you talk about tier 2, the regulation says take 5% of this within 14 days in the month. Remit this month to the appropriate quarters where we invest the money, so that when we are going on retirement, we'll get something small to fend for ourselves. Since January till now, I haven't paid the first one. This one, do we have to come and sit down with you and negotiate again? My sister.
So negotiation is out of the table. You want your money and you want it now. How long are you willing to push for this? And
as long as it feels to pay, we are on strike.
Let me bring in Austin Gami at this point. Well, they are not the only association on strike. Although their impact is far-reaching, the Mortuary Workers Association has also served notice that they're withdrawing their services, and it has taken effect today. They also have concerns with regards to their working conditions and availability of PPEs. How would you propose government go about this issue, such that, because the key concern now is all about finances, something government has served notice they're struggling to provide?
Well, the fear of the people is that they see government going about, we are in a campaign season, unfortunately for them, and they are busy about campaigning. They see huge sums of money being spent, and so there's nothing to convince them about this, particularly this, because if they are not seeing them going about and campaigning and seeking election, then it's a different story. Because they are seeing them, it has become very, 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 very challenging for all of us. Jordan, the General Secretary of the Mortuary people, is a very tough-skinned person. And once they have decided that, it's very, very difficult. I wish I call him and tell him that I have some people in the fridge we have to collect. But unfortunately, that is the situation we find ourselves. So we, even as a family, we are about postponing. If we can't get the body, then we can't have the funeral. That's what it is. But even the worst one is those who are going to die now, it means they'll have to be transferred to a private morgue somewhere. And even they belong to some of the private morgues. Now, concerning this business about mandatory deductions from working people's pay, under the pension scheme, there's nothing like negotiation on payment of these things. The only condition that is open to you, even you should do it without any prompting, is to pay it and pay interest on it. Maybe what should be negotiated will be the interest, whether it is compound interest or simple interest. Generally, it should be compound interest if it's delayed over like this, because you are hurting the people when they come on retirement. And it's suspected that government would have budgeted for these things because it's not just an allowance, it's a mandatory deduction and is to be promptly transferred to the fund managers for investment. And therefore, if you cannot pay it within the 14 days or so after the deduction has been effected, then you arrange with the fund managers or the owners of the money, who are the workers, to pay a compound interest on it, and they'll relax. But particularly so, like I said earlier, when we are in a transition to move into a brand new government, there is no way workers will be compromising on these issues. No, there's nothing like compromise when it comes to these type of things. Maybe the allowances, they may find some ways and means of agreeing to. But when it comes to retirement matters, it's a different ballgame. So I pray that government, because this one, nobody should expect embedding the Labour Commission. Labour Commission will have no authority to say that you have agreed, you have signed an agreement, but you can afford not to pay it. They can't say so. It will be foolhardy on their part to invite anybody to say that. It's when an agreement has not been reached, then Labour Commission can invite you people and even facilitate reaching that agreement. But in this case, you have voluntarily signed agreement without anybody putting gun on your head. It is assumed that you've budgeted for it. It's assumed that you have a dedicated funding for it. So why are you not paying? If they cannot afford to pay, this is when they can call the people, and they should do it as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, they are not smart enough. So that's what it is.
Austin Gamid, a labor expert, thank you for your time here on NewsDesk. And that's the call generally this morning. Government must pay up. The last time we heard from the Finance Ministry was when they put out a statement regarding Trafigura, and they were just clarifying that they have indeed made available some money to defray the cost, but they're yet to issue an official statement on the issues raised by organized labor and the Senior Staff Association, as well as the mortuary workers. We are working our lines. Once we get an official response from the Finance Ministry, we'll be giving you that. Well, away from this, the Ghana Center for Democratic Development is calling for the immediate observance of fair and due process for the arrested Stop Galamsey Now protesters. Now, they have put out a statement this morning, and it's coming up on your screen shortly, so that we just give you excerpts of that, because we know that 11 more protesters are expected to appear before the courts today. Well, that's the statement from CDD. The Ghana Center for Democratic Development, Ghana, strongly condemns the unlawful tactics employed by the Ghana Police Service in the recent arrest and detention of some 40 citizens exercising their constitutional right to protest over the weekend. Goes on to say, furthermore, we remind government and relevant authorities that Ghana is a signatory to the 1996 International Covenant and on civil and political rights, which upholds the right to peaceful assembly under Article 21. The right is echoed in Article 21(1)(d) of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana, which states all persons shall have the right to freedom of assembly, including freedom to take part in processions and demonstrations. The freedom to assemble is not just a fundamental right, but is also an indispensable civic development, political awareness, and citizen participation in public affairs. That's what the statement says from CDD, basically condemning what they term as the abuse of due process in the arrest and detention of protesters by the police. They have a call, finally, they are calling on the Ghana Police Service to fulfill their duty to protect, not oppress the citizens of this country. Their responsibility to maintain public order must be carried out in accordance with the letter and spirit of the 1992 Constitution. So that's the latest statement from CDD Ghana condemning what they term the abuse of due process by the Ghana Police Service in the arrest and detention of protesters over the weekend. Now, 11 more protesters are expected to appear before the Accra Circuit Court for their involvement in the Stop Galamsey Now demonstration that took place over the weekend. This was after the presiding judge refused them bail and adjourned the case to today. My colleague Kenneth Jesse monitored the proceeding yesterday. He filed this report.
11 demonstrators who took part in the Stop Galamsey Now demonstration were presented before the Accra Circuit Court today. Now, unlike yesterday, today's court proceedings dragged. That was because there were more individual lawyers representing most of the demonstrators. They argued their case, praying the court over reasons why their clients should be granted bail. At the end of a long court session, the judge adjourned the case to the 26th of September 2024, 1:30 p.m. prompt. They are expected back again to present their case before the court. One of the lawyers for the accused persons spoke to the media after the court proceedings.
So we requested from the court for an unconditional release of the accused person as he needs medical attention. And also, one of the accused person I represented is someone who is not fit to stand trial because of his condition. Because from the incoherent speech of the accused person, one can visibly see that this person needs medical attention at the psychiatric hospital. And this is someone who was promised that if you ask any policeman, you say some things in Hausa to that policeman, the policeman will obviously give you food. So he only needed a policeman to ask him for food. And the policeman directed him to the next policeman who detained him because he approached him for food. So that person is obviously someone who is not fit to stand trial.
And what do you make of the decision for the court to attend the matter?
Oh, that one is to be expected, because from today's proceedings, almost all the accused persons have different lawyers. So if all these different lawyers are urging on you to grant bail based on different conditions, one can only expect that the court will adjourn to consider same and rule on same tomorrow.
Lead convener of the group, Oliver Bakavomowo and Fanny Otu, were absent in court today. The reason given for their absence was that both men had fallen ill and were currently on admission at the police hospital. And judgment will be passed on them as and when they are fit to face the court. From the Accra Circuit Court, Kenneth Jesse for Joy News.
Well, 11 more protesters are expected to appear in court later today, and we'll be bringing you that live on the midday news. Now, but let's take you to our earlier story. We told you that the Mortuary Workers Association, they have withdrawn their services nationwide. Let's touch base with our correspondent on the ground, Collins Frimpong. He's been monitoring the impact of their action so far. Collins, where are you and what can you report?
Right, Faustina, I'm currently at Kolebu Mortuary, and this morning we got here around 9:30 a.m. where we tried to engage some of the workers' union, their leaders, but it's pushed straighter as they believe that the media is not going to help them to get solution to all their grievances. You know, already they are on strike because of delayed allowances and also salaries and shortage of PPE, that's the personal protective equipment. But when we try to engage some of the executives, the leaders, the local leaders at the Mortuary, they will not engage us because the media is not going to help them to get solution. That's what they told us. But we went to the Kolebu Hospital, the Public Relations Affairs, the Secretariat, to see if we could get any response to them, but they were not really open to engaging the media. But earlier on, we have been informed that 3 p.m. or 3:30, there will be a press conference by these mortuary workers to provide an update on their strike. But we try to also speak to some of the bereaved families who are trying to bring in bodies this morning. And some of them claim that the mortuary workers, because of the strike, they are not accepting anybody. Any place that they go to deposit bodies, they are not taking bodies. So that's what is affecting them. Some also are trying to make payment for bodies that are already inside, but the workers are not accepting those payments. So this is the situation on ground here this morning.
A very terrible time to be among the dead. Well, thank you, Collins, for bringing us that update. We'll be monitoring the situation across the country in the midday news, tell you how it's impacting mortuary across the country. Well, away from that, President Akufo-Addo says the Electoral Commission is well equipped to deliver a free and fair election. Speaking at the United Nations headquarters in New York, he opined that Ghana's long-standing record of being a beacon of democracy will not be undermined. President Akufo-Addo also charged the international community to safeguard the peace and security of West Africa, which is grappling with a surge in unconstitutional takeover of governments.
Peace cannot be imposed from the outside. It must be built from within. African nations must take ownership of their security, and the African Union needs to strengthen itself to be able to respond swiftly to threats. Madam President, as I speak today, ongoing developments in West Africa are deeply troubling. Military coups in Mali, Guinea, Burkina Faso, and Niger threaten the democratic progress we have worked so hard to achieve within the ECOWAS community. These coups are stark reminders that democracy is indeed fragile and must be continually nurtured. In Ghana, however, we will remain resolute in our commitment to democracy. As my presidency draws to a close, I want to assure this Assembly that the upcoming 2024 elections in Ghana will be free, fair, and transparent.
The governing New Patriotic Party says it hopes to reclaim the Fomena parliamentary seat and boost its votes in the upcoming December 7 election, with the decision to retain the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Andrew Amoako-Esiaman, as a parliamentary candidate during a unity rally at the Fomena constituency. The NPP vice presidential candidate, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, called on the party and their members to forgive past grievances, unite and work together for the interest of the party.
The unity rally in Dompoase marked the beginning of an intensified effort to secure a decisive victory for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and Andrew Esiama Amoako, who in 2020 won the parliamentary seat as an independent candidate. Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh emphasized that the NPP's anticipated win in the Fomena constituency depends on peace and unity, urging members to join forces and campaign vigorously for the party.
And the party did Akabu, chairman, the chairman for from Obunina, Akabu. And Chakra, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, Obama Fomena. A mayor fed, so Obama Fomena, not Philip. A bubble sacred if you don't know, baby. Not Philip, a bubble, sir, a tap. Obunina koke Esiama ho no major platforms no major PPE Esiama Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia ansa besemo obinim ye cheme e be si ti besemo mo ba nyina mo fa do na enkofi enkoka se ene de formula ya kan mo abom ye vote never to say boom boom boom.
Dr. Opoku Prempeh appealed to supporters to fully back Esiama in his quest to retain the Fomena seat for the NPP on December 7th, noting Esiama's ongoing support for the party in Parliament.
House to house, and some back on the room to room, trot to
On his part, Andrew Amoako-Esiama reaffirmed his commitment to lead the NPP to a resounding victory in Fomena.
biara enne ye nyina ye dia to yaki enne ye nyina ya sa abafie da ye bafie e pan sonkoso na ye bachichi ne fie no amafie no aye konkon eno enne me gina ha maka se yanya bibinti ebia yakti nyema biase awo bibinti omanti nyema biase wo bia sani utie kasa enne ye abafie.
Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh also cautioned voters in the Ashanti region about the risk of voting for the National Democratic Congress, the NDC.
Still on the NPP, the party is asking electorates in the Hohoe constituency to maintain John Peter Amewu as their Member of Parliament. The party believes Mr. Amewu's initiatives over the last 8 years demonstrate his zeal for the progress of the constituency by championing developmental projects.
The Hohoe constituency would once again be the center of attraction in the Volta region in the upcoming December 7th general elections. Railways Minister John Peter Amewu aims to continue representing the Hohoe constituent in Parliament, cashing hopes in his development initiatives within the last 8 years.
We go beyond development, and so it is about our own personal development.
Nonetheless, the National Democratic Congress fields Wolanyo Chekpo, who reigns from Alavanyo, to help it win back the seat from the New Patriotic Party. Alavanyo and Hohoe Zongo communities have been key deciders in the Hohoe parliamentary elections, hence the NDC picking an Alavanyo indigene as a candidate renewed its hope of winning. However, a leading member of the NPP, Prince Ellis Anchore, has launched campaign activities for the governing party in the area. This is targeted at reducing the NDC's voting pattern in the Alavanyo area. He believes Mr. Amewu has done exceedingly well to be given another term in office.
As the youth, everybody believes in development. We are civilized. We have seen the development. We know what has happened in Hohoe constituency since 1992. NDC has been in power in Parliament for years. We've not seen anything. Go to all the traditional areas today. Only 4 years in Parliament, you'll see the change. It's very clear. It's obvious. So everyone knows what is happening, and we are very much, ready to support that same agenda for development. That's what we are about.
Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Hohoe.
Away from politics, the Pediatric Oncology Unit at the Konfanoti Teaching Hospital has taken the initiative to raise public awareness about childhood cancers. This comes on the back of late reports of cases by parents from poor households due to fear of cost and misconceptions. There's more in the full report by David Opoku, read to you.
The Pediatric Oncology Department at the Konfanoti Teaching Hospital treats around 175 cases of childhood cancers every day. The department is using the month of September to raise awareness about childhood cancers in various public spaces, including streets, marketplaces, and offices. The aim is to rally the public to support the fight against childhood cancer. Head of the unit, Dr. Vivian Paintel, stresses the importance of parents sending their children to the hospital promptly for cancer treatment.
Myth about childhood cancers. Some people think that childhood cancers are not curable, okay? But what we know is that if children with cancers are seen early, about 80% of them can be cured. When we cure them, that means as a child, if you are cured by 3 years of age, 4 years of age, you have the rest of your life ahead of you for you to live. And so that is why we are making the noise today, going around to tell people that children do get cancer. And when they do, when we all join our hands together, we can be able to fight them. Because one person can't fight cancer because of the cost and all that involved. So all of us, it takes a whole village, it takes a whole city, it takes a whole nation. So all of us are needed for us to be able to fight cancer.
Dr. Pinto entreated individuals and organizations to join initiatives for childhood cancer.
And I would say the situation is dire. It is better than it used to be, but still there is still more room for improvement. And all of us, corporate bodies, NGOs, individuals need to come together. Those who are rock stars, who sing, they are the ones who currently have lots of money. Footballers, everybody can come around. You can possibly adopt one child who can't afford treatment. You can adopt that child so that that child can be cured of their cancers.
Board chairman of the National Health Insurance Authority, Dr. Ernest Kwaku, said the NIA is implementing programs to address childhood cancers. He says the goal is to improve early detection and ensure effective treatment for affected children.
It's a pleasure to have you join us for the walk. This is something we have been doing to raise awareness about childhood cancer, especially to tell the general public about how to be able to tell early signs and symptoms so that they will bring the children early for us to treat them. Fortunately, there are a lot of specialists that have been trained to give prompt care once the children are brought. And also another bit about the care that is taken care of now, at least for 4 of them, is that the financial access barrier has been broken. We at the National Health Insurance have brought these 4 onto the benefit package so that with early detection and prompt action by all the specialists around, then with financing, children can be cured. The benefit package we have offered is what the specialists have told us to offer. Of course, there are a few things that are out of the range of the benefit package, including some investigations. But at least the 4 that are being covered, you will have treatment costs up to the end of the treatment.
David Opokus reports for Joy News.
Here on News X. It's time now for business, and Daryl joins us in the studio.
Hey, Faustina, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm great. What should we expect?
Well, are you intending to travel anytime soon out of the country?
Hopefully.
Well, there are a few changes. I'm going to tell you about it. Almost all the regional airlines operating out of the Kotoka International Airport will soon be moved from Terminal 3 to Terminal 2. The Ghana Airports Company Limited is proposing 1st December this year as the effective date for these airlines to relocate. Yes, more.
The move is part of effort by the Ghana Airports Company Limited to decongest Terminal 3 at the Kotoka International Airport, which currently serves as the operating hub for both the regional and international airlines. However, Joy Business is learning that the move will hit regional airlines like Sky, Ibom Air, Air Peace, and Africa World Airlines. Sources say the directive will also affect other carriers like Egypt Air, Kenya Airways, Ethiopian Airlines, Rwanda Air, and South Africa Airlines. The proposals have not gone down well with some of the airlines who are first worried about the short notice and the fact that some of these international airlines are also doing regional operations as the fear of losing passengers to them. There are also concerns that a passenger traveling on a regional airline is paying the same tax as someone flying to London. Some of the airlines operating on the West African region are also worried about the current state of Terminal 2 at the Kotoka International Airport. Some have described the move by the Ghana Airports Company Limited as a cost-saving venture and make use of the Terminal 2, which is said to be underutilized. The Ghana Airports Company, in a statement released earlier this year, revealed that they are working to move some airlines to the Terminal 2 as part of some restructuring exercise.
Now, government has given assurance that tax compliance measures being rolled out will soon start yielding the desired results. The Finance Ministry over the past 3 years has been leading policy reforms aimed at improving tax collection. There's more in this report.
The Ghana Revenue Authority IT Center project started in 2021 in partnership with KFW, which is a representative of the German government. Deputy Finance Minister Dr. Alex Ampabin highlighted reforms made over the last few years in ensuring compliance, such as the online filing for Ghana.gov platforms, integrated customs management system ICOMS, among others. He was optimistic the training will help push the country towards 20% of tax to GDP in the next 3 years.
Ghana's tax to GDP of 14.1% is commendable, of course, looking at the circumstances we operate. But I do believe that as a low-middle income economy, we still have a way to go. As our colleagues in the same league moving around 21%, we moving around 14%. Not to say we don't appreciate the hard work and the environment which you operate, especially identifying who the taxpayer is and their businesses poses challenges on its own. So we do appreciate the hard work you're doing, but I do believe that with this training, in the next 3 years, I see Ghana moving towards that 18 to 20% bracket tax to GDP.
Dr. Alex Ampabin assured that the needs of GRA will be provided to equip staff in delivering their mandates. Commissioner General of Ghana Revenue Authority, Julie Esiam, says the transformation will enhance the work of the authority.
We are not in any way saying that our staff members or our colleagues at GRA are not behaving properly. That's not what we're saying. There's always an enhancement. Every time I speak, I let you know that in other tax authorities, they have also traveled the same journey, haven't they? So we are also on the same journey. But it is my fundamental belief. But at the end of this journey, we will, Ghana Revenue Authority, be better than any authority that you have ever seen. A training, front-line training for customer centricity. Isn't that what we said? That is why we're all here today, to launch this building with training in customer experience. The building, when we agreed with the KFW, was also going to host fundamentally IT training, right? My minister just said, the future of taxation is digital taxation.
Lead advisor of the Ghana Revenue Program by the UK government in Ghana, Elom Segbefia, says the partnership will help GRA remain customer-centric.
It's been a journey, but the outcome of what we're trying to achieve is for GRA to become a customer-centric organization where GRA are able to use analytics, behavioral science, behavioral analytics to figure out what the customers are looking for, sort of be ahead of their customers, give their customers a sterling experience. We all know that nobody wants to pay taxes, but one way you can get people to align to paying taxes is to at least give them a good service. So thankfully we got Deloitte Ghana on board. Deloitte are going to be delivering this training, which is to help the GRA frontline staff. These are staff who are directly engaging taxpayers at the tax service centers or at the ports or wherever GRA operates.
Deputy Resident Representative of UNDP, Sukrop Kamedov, indicated the training will help reduce cost of tax administration. About 60 frontline staff from domestic tax revenue and custom divisions of GRA become the first batch to undergo a 3-day training in service excellence.
Now, the National Information Technology Agency, in collaboration with GIZ, is expected to roll out the National E-Commerce Policy and Framework by the first quarter of 2025. Speaking to Joy Business at the 3rd E-Commerce Forum and Exhibition, Component Manager at GIZ, Emmanuel Mumini, noted that the framework will ensure that the electronic commerce value chain actualizes its growth potential and creates jobs.
According to the National Information Technology Agency, the e-commerce value chain is currently valued at 970 million cedis. The sector, which is expected to grow by about 20% annually, is key to the growth of small and medium enterprises. Speaking to Joy Business at the 3rd E-Commerce Forum and Exhibition, Component Manager at GIZ, Emmanuel Mumuni, noted that a national e-commerce policy and framework, which is being worked on in partnership with the National Information and Technology Agency, is expected to be rolled out by 2025 to ensure the growth of the sector.
Since 2022, we've had a lot of input from this session or this dialogue going into policy. So there's a national e-commerce strategy and policy that is being developed. It's quite advanced because the NITA is also pushing it very hard. So we're at the stage where it's more on stakeholder engagement. So the content is done, but we need to engage stakeholders again, the final round, to get it ready so that it can be published and can be a working document as well.
But when are we likely to see this coming to fruition?
I would say first quarter of next year.
The e-commerce chain remains a crucial part of the puzzle in achieving a single African trade market, connecting SMEs in various countries to potential buyers. But poor internet connectivity is a hindrance.
There are lots of people that are still not part of this digital transformation that we're talking about. And that's just a market that we are leaving out because if people are living in peri-urban or rural areas and don't have any connectivity, it's a market that it's not buying online. And the more we integrate them, the more we include them, it becomes another market segment that people selling online can attract or can sell to. And so we're working a lot with World Bank, with the ministry, to expand accessibility.
Anthony Owusu-Ansah, president of the Association of Licensed Courier Companies Ghana, called for regulations to address the issue of unlicensed courier services in the country.
In e-commerce, you will notice that a lot of expensive products are being transported or delivered. So if you use an unlicensed courier company and you can't trace your package, it becomes a problem. So we have a lot of unlicensed, unregistered people who are operating as delivery companies in the country. And it's a key problem for us, because then they get to undercut, underprice, they get to use all sorts of means to operate, which affects the licensed and registered courier companies in the country.
The 3rd National E-Commerce Forum and Exhibition also unveiled a trust seal, an electronic badge which will authenticate businesses on their websites.
And that's your business update. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. That story about LPG shortage hitting parts of the country there, you can read more on that. Hopefully, Fosti has filled up and doesn't need LPG right now, do you?
I do, actually. In fact, I may have to go and get some, but
there's a long queue in parts of the country.
Exactly, and it's a big issue. I'm sure by 12 p.m. you will tell us how government plans to fix this. Well, that's it for NewsX. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Faustina Safu. Good morning.